For the first time ever, the world's largest family celebration event will be entirely virtual and completely free. RootsTech is a global event that celebrates family and the concept that everyone is connected and belongs. This entertaining 3-day event draws an audience young and old who will certainly enjoy the vibrant, energetic atmosphere and design that delivers celebrity speakers and entertainers, helpful classes, and fun experiences. RootsTech also features the latest products and services from well-known or emerging companies that offer cutting-edge, innovative technologies to create fun, inspiring personal and family discoveries. It has grown to become the largest family celebration event in the world. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special one-on-one interview with Dr. Astrid Tuminez as she talks about RootsTech Connect 2021 and her participation in this global event. My name is Janella Renner. 3 years ago, a video was recorded of Dr. Tuminez as she welcomed students at Utah Valley University in 5 different languages. The video went viral in the Philippines, and during that time, Dr. Tuminez became the 7th president of UVU and the first ever female president. Tonight, we will learn about how this amazing Filipina who grew up in Iloilo and challenging personal circumstances broke the bonds of poverty through education, which she considers to be the great equalizer. We will also discover the significant role her family played in her success. And of course, we will learn what RootsTech Connect is offering in the upcoming conference on February 24 to 25. Welcome, Dr. Tuminez. We are so grateful to connect with you through the blessing of technology.
Hi, Janella. I'm so delighted to be here.
We are excited to know that you will be one of the keynote speakers in this year's RootsTech Connect.
I know it's fantastic that even during a global pandemic, Roots Tech can still happen, and that's thanks to the technology of the 21st century.
Haha, that's right. RootsTech celebrates family and the concept that everyone is connected and belongs. At this point in your life, after your many academic achievements, like graduating summa cum laude in international relations and Russian literature from Brigham Young University, acquiring a master's degree from Harvard University in Soviet Studies, and a PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Political Science, how has your family helped you to reach these achievements and the belief that education could get you out of poverty? Could you tell us your story?
So my family has a remarkable story in the sense that, like many Filipinos, I was born very poor. I was born in a village in the province of Iloilo, and the village was called Pali. No one would have heard about it. And I was the 6th child at the time. And so you can imagine in a village that's mainly inhabited by peasants, how hard life would be. My mother was quite remarkable in that she was ambitious. She realized early on that my siblings and I wouldn't even learn English or have any kind of decent job if we stayed in the village. So when I was 2 years old, my mother decided to move the family to the city. And the only place we could afford to live in was the slums of the city. The slums were special in a way because they were on a beach and they had this beautiful view of the sea and a big island across the way where my mother was from. The island is called Guimaras. So that's how it started. And then when I was 5 years old, some nuns from the Daughters of Charity, Catholic nuns, were doing service in the slums and they found me and my siblings. They spoke to my mother, and after realizing that her children may have some talent, they offered all of us, the girls, not my brother, a spot in their school. So it was a pretty exclusive school in the city, one of those exclusive Catholic schools where you have to wear a uniform and go to mass and be very well behaved and have the fear of God instilled in your heart. So I credit my mother for having the foresight to think about the future of her children. And it was that pivotal moment with the nuns that really changed the trajectory of my life. Where I learned to read, I learned to explore the world through books and magazines, and it's been pretty an amazing journey since that time.
Wow, that is inspiring. What a beautiful journey it has been for you and those that helped you in your early years of education. I marvel at the nuns who provided you and your sisters the opportunity to obtain quality education and remarkable scholarship. And your parents, of course, your incredible mom for believing in your capabilities and guiding you as you were growing up. Later in your teens, you became a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints and thereafter continued in your pursuit of excellence. In your experience, how has being a Latter day Saint contributed to the way you value education?
Yes, so the nuns were quite disappointed that I changed my religion. And at the time I really didn't explain to them why. But my joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints could be strongly linked to that deeper focus on religion. And I might think about that in several ways. First, I think the theology of my church really emphasizes learning. It emphasizes continuous improvement in our human lives, striving to be better, striving to become like God, which is a pretty tall order. And so when you think about that, it's a serious thing to be, it's a serious mandate in a way to say that you can become like God. And we have a scripture that says the glory of God is intelligence, or in other words, light and truth. I think that is quite profound. And there are many other things that we could look at in the faith that, sort of really emphasizes learning about everything, about countries, about languages, about physics and the planets. And so I found that extremely motivating and exciting. And then another way that my faith has deepened my belief and pursuit of education is also that in this church, leadership is emphasized. So when I was a little girl, I actually didn't realize what this all amounted to, because obviously when you're young, you don't know what life is shaping up to be. But the fact that I could teach, that I could lead singing, even though I wasn't very good at it, the fact that in the congregation you can give talks, I think all of that increased my confidence and my ability to keep learning and improving my talents. I think if there's one thing that I would say in my faith and in my church that could have been better, I think it would be the encouragement of women, young and old, to be truthful about their ambitions, to embrace their capabilities, and to be unafraid to become leaders, not just at home, but in the world at large. And I talk about this because I think the world, with all of its problems of poverty, inequality, violent conflict, environmental degradation, racial injustice, there's a million things that are not right with our world and a lot of suffering. I think that the voices of women, with our hearts and our minds and our hands, we have so much to contribute, and I think we could certainly do more of that. But I'm grateful for a faith that gave me the solid foundation to strive and to believe in myself. I truly was 100% bought into the idea that I'm a child of God. And that was very powerful for me because even though I was poor, that I had the potential to be uh, something so much greater than perhaps what I had imagined myself to be as a child was a big thing for me.
I love that. And I especially love your call for young women to be more open about their ambitions, especially as a young woman myself. I find that very inspiring, and I'm sure many other young women would love to hear that call as well. And one oft repeated piece of advice that Filipino children always hear from their parents is that material riches are fleeting, but an education takes you a long way towards survival and living a fruitful life. And indeed, it brought you to new heights as you established your career, having worked as an executive at Microsoft and Vice Dean of Research at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore. You have also worked in philanthropy and venture capital in New York City, and as a permanent member of the Council on Foreign Relations, what have you learned from your parents and family members about the value of work?
I am a workaholic. I am a self-confessed workaholic, and sometimes I ask, where did this come from? And I think a lot of it comes from my mother. My mother is now 87 years old, but as I related in the story earlier, she was so ambitious about what she wanted her children to experience and attain. And when I was growing up, I heard stories about my mother working in the rice field. So if you didn't have your own land in the Philippines, many Filipinos would know this. You have to hire yourself out as a hired hand to someone who has rice to harvest or other things to do. So my mom would be 8 months pregnant and she'd be out there in the field working really, really hard. My father, whom I loved very dearly and still love very dearly today, passed away in 1992. His personality was a little bit different. He was more laid back, more relaxed. He liked to sit under the coconut tree and relax and drink his tuba and have a good time. But he also tried so many different professions in his lifetime. And even though neither of my parents graduated from high school, both were very smart. And I saw that as a child. They would have these fantastic arguments. And the arguments would be about this or that, but they were thinking things through and they had an opinion and they had a viewpoint. And for good or ill, I saw that kind of exchange, and I knew that they had ideas. And so my parents, being of humble origin, but being people with opinions and a point of view on the world, and at the same time being strivers and really, really being hard workers. My father's last job was in the wet market, and in the wet market, he was a government official, handing out receipts to people selling stuff in the market. And he was earning at the time about 300 pesos, which I've calculated to be less than $50 a month. And there were already 7 children to support. And one of the things that I learned from my parents is not just about hard work, but about solving problems. Poverty can be a blessing if it helps you to solve your problems in creative ways, because you simply cannot throw money at it, but you have to be creative. You have to find ways, for example, to invent toys as a child. And I'm saying this because I know there will be a lot of Filipinos listening, and I want them to my kababayan, to believe whatever your situation is in life, that you have talent in you, you have energy in you, you have the ability to work hard. If you can outwork most people, you will make it.
I love that. And I know I've just said it, but you really are inspiring, and your story is inspiring. And I'm sure many Filipinos and everyone from all walks of life will be inspired listening to your words. And in our short time together, you have provided us with several cherished gems regarding the importance of getting a good education and achieving success in life. Amidst your many successes in education and employment, what was your family's reaction as you were accomplishing these things? Were there family members or ancestors who were also very goal oriented and motivated like you in your aspirations?
So that is a really good question. So when I think about how my family has reacted to my achievements, if you could call it that, my father always called me small but terrible when I was a little girl. And I think that was because I was a little bit sassy and talkative. So for my family, certainly it depends on my immediate family. There's always a lot of pride. There's been a lot of support from my six siblings, and I have half siblings also. So a lot of support, a lot of pride. I know they're very proud of what I've accomplished. I am the only person in my immediate family with a PhD or an advanced degree. And that doesn't really matter because I'm number six in the family. So, in the Philippines, if you're the youngest, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished. You're still the little one who needs to be told what to do. So that's good because that keeps me humble. And for my extended family, my cousins and aunts and uncles, frankly, many of them continue to be farmers and you know uh, fisher folk who live a subsistence life. Some of my cousins have done a little bit better, and I hope that I've been able to help a few of them, including raising not just helping them when they need help, but also raising their aspirations. So sometimes when I go home to my mother's village or my father's village, it is actually kind of a strange experience, but I love where I came from. I feel that regardless of the differences in my life experience and the life experiences of my family, we are one family. And I am so proud of my relatives who are farmers and fisher folk because they also have fascinating lives and they show their own strengths in amazing ways. I love to tell stories about them. And I feel that they are such hardy people, and my own genes, my DNA, includes this hardiness, and they're humble people. So I also really love that about them, and they know how to party. Like if there's a fiesta, butcher all the chickens, the cows, and the pigs. It's such an important part of my life. I just so enjoy it, and so I am grateful for this wealth of family, types of people, types of experiences, and still being a part of that, regardless of where I go in the world or what I am doing with my life.
That must have been very exciting to know that your roots helped you understand who you are and your potential. And on another note, a lot of young women, including myself, look up to you as an inspiration, especially when you accepted the role as the first female president of UVU. What advice can you give to these young women about career roles and pursuing leadership positions?
Thank you for that question. I'm sure there are many young women out there who are much more talented than I am and will accomplish many amazing things in their lives. So I think that if I were looking at young women today, or even looking at myself when I was 15 or 16, I would say to the young women, first of all, dream your life. What is that life that you want to have or become? And I like to say that dreams are free. So dream on. Second, prepare for that life. Prepare for that life by getting an education, by choosing what your values are going to be and living by those values, by seeking advice from the people you admire and the people who love you. So dream, prepare. The third thing is do. Do what needs to be done. When you are given a task, do it to the best of your ability so that people know that they can count on you. And in the process of doing, you will fail. You'll have down moments. There'll be times people won't like you, people will gossip about you, or you'll feel really terrible. And I would say that during those moments, know how to pick yourself up. If dark chocolate makes you feel good, have some dark chocolate. If dancing makes you feel good, dance. If there's a guitar somewhere, take the guitar and sing. So dream, prepare, do, and then finally, never underestimate the good that you can do. And it's certainly not just by becoming a university president or a doctor or a big politician, but there are all these good things we could do just by who we are, what we believe in, and how we treat other people every single day. People will never forget. I think it was the poet Maya Angelou who said, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So I say to the young women, go for it. This is such an exciting century for the power of women to to influence the world for the better.
Dream, prepare, and do. I love that. That is incredible advice, and I am definitely taking that to heart as a young woman that is preparing to graduate high school and go off into the world of college and prepare for her career. So, this advice is very timely for me, and I'm sure this advice will be very timely for other young women with a similar situation as I. And so, finally, for my last question, with the good and bad of technology and social media, intensifying schedules and the effects of busyness draining our emotional and spiritual health, what advice would you give to people to achieve balance amidst the many demands of life? Or what is the role of your family amidst all of the other demands upon you?
It's all one big jumble, and often I like to say that balance is a little bit of a myth. And what do I mean by that? I think if you're a hard charging person, you're never at that point where, oh, everything is just this perfect balance. It doesn't really work that way because excellence requires intensity. If you want to be a great mother, you have to be rather intense about it. If you want to be a great pianist, you have to be very intense about it. If you want to be a great author or a great swimmer, greatness requires tremendous intensity and sacrifice. So I want to put that out as a first principle. The second principle, though, is really important as a counterbalance to that. And maybe this is where balance comes in. We need to know how to do self care. And when I was younger, I wasn't very good at that. As I got older, I got a little better at it. And part of that is having a family. Once I had my first baby, I realized that, one really important lesson, and this was something I didn't anticipate, was when I was nursing my first baby at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, I noticed that she would fidget and cry if I wasn't thinking about her. If I was thinking about work or all of these things that I had to do, it made me pay attention. It made me think about just being there in that moment. I have learned over time that most of us don't even live our lives. What do I mean? We are constantly thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. That when we are with our children or our husbands or wives or our mother, we are not even there. We're somewhere else. Our minds are somewhere else. So, one way I think that family teaches us to be more balanced in that sense is it helps us to, our family members help us to pay attention. And of course, for me, one of the greatest ways for me to relax and feel good is to have a good time with my children. They also make me crazy. They challenge me a lot. And sometimes I've found that I have been truly unprepared for that. But nothing makes me feel better than when my son, stops by my office, or when my 11-year-old writes me a note or a letter, or my husband and I take a walk. So those things are really important. Relationships sustain our careers and leadership journeys. And those relationships have to do with our closest family and friends. So we must never lose sight of that.
I truly appreciate those words of wisdom and your tips in maintaining spiritual and mental wellness. As we close, could you tell us a bit about what you plan to talk about in the upcoming Roots Tech Connect?
Sure. But first of all, I want to say, Janella, what an amazing person you are. So I
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you achieve many, many things in your life. So with the coming Roots Tech that is remote, as we know, it's going to be virtual. I will be telling stories about my grandmother and my mother. And I chose those stories because when I was asked to prepare for Roots Tech, I really kind of reflected a little bit about who I could pay homage to. And that would be this remarkably strong, remarkably gritty, also sometimes frustrating women in my life, my mother and my grandmother. And so I hope that my fellow Filipinos, as you think about your nanay, as you think about your lola, that you will appreciate where they came from, why their lives were different from yours, what they gave you as a heritage, because that heritage is so rich. And the better we understand where we came from and are can be proud of what we've inherited, I think that the better we will be able to understand ourselves and blaze our own trail in the precious lives that we've been given.
Thank you. I love that. And what an enriching conversation that this has been. Thank you so much for allowing us to get to know you more and for sharing valuable insights and lessons from your experiences. We have certainly learned a lot and are looking forward to hearing your keynote speech. And make sure to catch Dr. Tuminez by registering at RootsTech Connect. All you need to do to participate is register your name, email address, and location. That's it. And for us in the Philippines, as long as you have registered, you can attend all of the classes and activities offered during the conference on February 25th to 27th, 2021, in the comfort of your own home. And once the conference is over, you'll have full access to all the recordings as long as you have registered. Come, join with us, and we look forward to seeing you at Roots Tech Connect 2021.